everyone. We are live from the sanctuary
There we go.
here with our very favorite psychic medium, Jerry McDaniel. How are you doing
Hello.
tonight?
Good. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You all healthy and well now?
I am healthy and I am well. Thank you for asking.
Good, good. Are you staying hydrated?
Yeah, that was my vacation, Mary Ellen, 3 days in the hospital.
No.
And it was just it was a dehydration, but from electrolytes, not water. I drank about 80 ounces a day of water.
Wow.
But it's something with electrolytes and something with the cerebellum with that affects equilibrium. And there's a medication I need to get off that contributes to lightheadedness.
Okay.
So it was a rough weekend, but I'm here.
Well, it's also good to know that everything is good, that what's not wrong with you. That's very
and it was a bit surreal going back into the hospital after spending 8 months there. And they said I'm doing very well. This is my first trip in a year to the hospital. Sorry, a little bit of indigestion. That was me. I barked.
Oh, that was the puppy.
I know.
Hush. So what's going on in the news now? One thing I know, same thing we know what's not. I'm glad that the White House is making it out of the news a little bit, and now we're getting actual news. So,
it's funny is a lot of UFO stuff is really popping up at an incredible rate. Where before it was, it was a forbidden subject, for anybody from the government to talk about. But thank God for the Freedom of Information Act, because that helps to release a lot of stuff. And man, you just hear of, all this stuff, and you go, yeah, one of these days, it will be one of the defining moments in this Earth's and this planet's history is when we really acknowledge that we're not alone.
Yes.
And I don't think it's going to be like the movie Mars Attacks. That was a hysterical movie. That was a funny movie. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Oh my gosh, excuse me, so funny. But I don't think it's going to be like that.
I think we need to be ready. I think other countries are slightly more open to it. Americans are more into the sensationalism, I think, rather than making the heart connections with these other beings that are more advanced than us.
Yeah, I think places like England they're so more open to things. I mean, than we are. We're pretty closed society in terms of minds, but and I think that's one of the reasons you see New Age spirituality developing, because people look at religion, which is good, but there's borders and boundaries that people just don't want to feel adhered to. And so they, and I think that's why that's expanding so much.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
So, my Catholic Church was in the news. I just, again, and just, I'm not trying to get into controversy, but and I'm Catholic, of course. But, the more we connect, the more we know that it's light. It's the soul of a person. That's who we're made in the image of. We're made in the image of God, but it's his divine. It's that, fingerprint of the divine that's on us, as Richard Rohr says. Oh, there's your friend. Hey.
He wanted to say.
Beautiful. How old?
Let me see. He was born in early May. So what is that now? 10 months, I think.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Look at those eyes. Holy cow.
Oh, you can see the world in there. Yep. So the Catholic Church was in the news again. This one, I really have liked this Pope, but
there's always pressure within, it's a hierarchy. It's a business, and I say it, but religion is a business, and or they have a business model. There's such things as movements, and most churches or religions are not movements, they're an organization. So you have structure and you have all that. And I really liked him too. I just don't want to see discrimination against
Mm-hmm.
LBGTQ
Mm-hmm.
people. I mean, it's that's discrimination,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure God doesn't go for it, but
Well, I'm sure he's going to get feedback. So
yeah.
we'll
So
see.
anyway, when I say I'm sure God doesn't go for it. I don't have a path to God that nobody else has.
Sure.
God doesn't sit around and go, "What does Jerry think?
Right.
Let's check in."
Right.
But everything I know, and a lot of us on this broadcast know about the spirit realm. It's a realm,
Yeah.
which means it's not physical. Is that it's the light within us. It's the frequency of the vibrations. It's just everything,
Right.
and that kind of goes beyond physical. And we tend to look at people and put labels on them, and then we say it's us against them.
Right.
That's such a shame. So anyway, pray for the church. Pray for all religions. Really, there are more than 3,000 religions in the world today.
Wow.
I did not know that. I was doing some research for my second book, Beyond the Rational Realm,
Okay.
and discovered there are more than 3,000 religions. And so you can't say just one religion is the path up.
Sure.
What is that? How many millions and hundreds of millions and possibly billions? What's the Earth have? 3 billion? I don't know. But anyway, that's all I saw was in the news. But that ongoing, ongoing information of UFOs, and it's If I was president, my first trip, Area 51. I want to see Area 51.
Okay. Right.
That's my first trip. But I don't think I'm going to be elected president anytime soon.
Hey, you never know.
Well, I think I do, Mary Ellen. I'm technically an independent, so I don't have a party behind me.
Right.
But anyway.
So our topic tonight is about grief and about processing grief.
Right.
But you touched on religion. And I think that in one of our other shows, I asked you if those that have crossed over from the other side have ever mentioned religion, or if there is any, discussion of it or thoughts of it on the other side.
Mary Ellen, very rarely, because in the spirit realm, the divisions don't exist. Now, some of the characteristics that we carry over exist until we find, if we were really stubborn, we may be really stubborn on the other side. We got to form more light. We got to find more light, learn more lessons, ascend to higher dimensions, higher levels of consciousness and all that. But very rarely, I don't know if anybody that's come through has mentioned religion. A lot of what they've mentioned is leaving a legacy. And they're not talking about a legacy of religion. They're talking about a legacy of if someone was from the island of Mallorca, which is off the coast of Spain. And I probably mispronounced it. I apologize. They want to know, are you carrying on the legacy of the people? Mm-hmm. Are you carrying on that legacy? Are you doing good works? And so, but they've rarely mentioned religion. And, you talk about grieving. I mean, we've all experienced a loss during the pandemic, a loss of freedom, a loss. I mean, it's loosening up a little bit now, but a loss of the ability to hug people, to go to restaurants. I'm still cautious about going to restaurants. And that's because, the pandemic, and that's because of my health problems. People go to restaurants, hey, they're fine. And then we lost our ability to just walk around and talk like you and I are doing now. Now it's a mask. And those things aren't easy. And I don't know how first responders, I don't know how they wear that all day.
Right.
Oh, I say first responders, nurses, and what have you, all day. And it's just, but the grieving, I think the two toughest things about connecting and grieving, Mary Ellen, is connecting with children who have passed, or parents who have lost a child. The child could be uh, 7, 8, could be 15, could be 30, and then also those who have decided to end their own life. I hate to say commit suicide because it sounds difficult. I like to just, they chose to end their own life. And no, they're not languishing in hell. And so you look at those and we've all known people who have taken their own life. It's affected everybody in one way or another. I did a reading today, but no, what's today? Tuesday. Yeah, I did a reading. Well, I did a reading today, but I did a reading yesterday, which, and the person, beautiful mom out of the area which I was born, lost her son, a teenage son. And I can't imagine the grief. I can't do it. Look at that. It's always good to bring a light moment. I have worked with 2 organizations. One was a few years ago, Helping Parents Heal. And these are parents that all lost. I remember I did a presentation to them at the Orlando Public Library, and there were 20 people in attendance. And they gave me 2 hours, and traditionally, as always, I went over to 3 hours. I think people were glazed over by the time I got through. So they were tremendous, though. But of the 20 people, probably half a dozen lost children due to them ending their own life. And now work with a magnificent organization, From Grief to Hope. They're on the Facebook. I talk to them about twice a year, and they're just tremendous. And so check them out on Facebook, From Grief to Hope.
Okay.
And Australia and Susan are kind of the administrators, coordinators, and it's a nonprofit, and they're there for people. And what they do, is they have the dates, of all of our loved ones that have passed, and on that day they will post a person picture and welcome them to, and it's just so beautiful what they do. Like, I lost my brother, so on May 12th they'll post a picture of my brother Stan.
Nice.
And they just do great work, but it's tough. I mean, there's times I just don't know what to say. And it's not just me, Spirit, they say Tom heals all wounds. I'm not too sure about that. The wounds of the heart are the deepest and take the longest to heal, if they ever heal. And it's like the Willie Nelson song. He has a beautiful song. It's not something we get over. It's something we get through.
Right.
So we get through it. We just don't get over it. And a lot of times when Spirit comes through, Spirit doesn't. It's not that Spirit doesn't have the words. It's just tough to find the words. And I always say, Spirit, please give me the words to comfort this person. And a lot of times it's a memory. It's a funny memory. It makes them laugh, makes them think of the good times. And
I was going to ask if there was any type of trend in the messages that would come across from those who've chosen to end their lives to the loved ones that you're giving readings to.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I noticed a trend because I deal with it a lot. Anybody who does this work deals with it a lot, and not just me, but everybody. And the thing that I've noticed throughout is no matter how they chose to end their life, there's a split, and I'm not a scientist, millisecond where they go, uh-oh, like this seemed like a good, I'm not saying they have, a lot of them have instant regrets because they see a flashback of the people that have been left behind to handle, as I say, the carnage, to handle the destruction. When my youngest son was in high school and he was 16, he had a real good friend, one of his closest friends. He saw him one day. The next day he showed up at the breakfast table where him and his buddies would meet, and Jay wasn't there. I'm going to use the initial J. Jay wasn't there, and they all knew, but my youngest son Andrew didn't know that he had taken his own life the night before. And what Andrew did, I love what he did. He went over to the house with a friend, and he made them laugh. he talked about the funny stories of Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the funeral, going to the grave site, the burial, and everything, and going to the viewing. And I don't know what kept these parents up to
Mm-hmm.
stand up, and there's their son, their only son, in a coffin. And it's by the grace of God, spirit, universe,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that we get through these things somehow. Easy for me to say it because my kids are still living. Easy for me to say it, and I realize that. But and I pray for those folks. And
When I
I
was
really,
doing my reincarnation workshops, uh, one of the trends that I saw was people coming who had lost young children, that may have been born with cancer, or that might have been, born seriously ill, maybe
yeah,
that didn't live long. And they were looking to find some type of answers, or closure is not the word, but just an understanding of perhaps why we came into this situation. And every once in a while, because I would try to stay after and talk to them, usually they had something that they wanted to share. They wanted to ask a specific question relative to their situation. And sometimes you really could find some type of connection between, sometimes when a child is born sick, this was chosen in order to give a growth opportunity to the parents.
yeah,
So what they did was selfless, that they chose to come into this life, and and understanding that there's a lot of different reasons that things happen, and some we may never know, but we did choose to some degree, things that go on in our lives. And sometimes that may be the case.
yeah.
Situation's different.
And a lot of the young people who have taken their lives, um, the trend also seems to be their task is to alleviate the guilt from the parents.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's a strong trend. I just thought of that.
Hmm.
And because, like it's agonizing talking to a father who had an argument
Hmm.
with his son or daughter, and they take their life, and they feel responsible.
Hmm.
And that young person or younger person will come through and say, I
Hmm.
was struggling this for a long time. I
Hmm.
know we think it's an impulse, and I'm sure there's been some impulsive, but I remember a couple of years ago I did a reading for. I do a lot of readings for people out in the Western United States, and this person was. I have a group of about 35 or 40 people in Phoenix or in the Arizona area that I do readings for, and they're a tremendous group. And this person, this young lady, was 20, 21. And somebody that she knew, a young man she knew in high school, had taken his own life.
Hmm.
And she said, and she broke down. I could have stopped it. I should have seen something. He came through and said, listen, you could have stopped me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Sunday, you know,
Right.
I just thought this was the only way.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times when we think it's impulsive, a lot of times there's a lot of thinking that goes into this.
Hmm.
Which blew my mind when the first few times several years ago when I had this, people who had taken their own life come through, and they said, "Yeah, I was depressed, a lot of mental anguish, a
Hmm.
lot of mental. It's such a depressing thing. I mean, spend more money on the mental. What am I trying to say? Mental illness.
Hmm.
But I'm not a politician. Don't ever plan to be. Uh, but I think that's why sometimes we see things are so out of whack. And you getting back to the pandemic, you look at the loss we've had, the loss of friendship,
Hmm.
the loss of human contact, the loss. I mean, it's like we're in caves.
Right.
And occasionally we get out on that Flintstone car and drive to the store or the Bedrock Drive-In Theater or something.
Hmm.
And we have that loss of freedom. And that's the thing we covet. One of the things we covet most about living here is freedom.
Hmm.
And, and I don't know if there's any studies that show people who have taken their own life through the because of the pandemic or because I don't know. And I don't know if we'd ever find that out. And it's funny. I would say the other trend, the majority of people, overwhelming majority, never mention a note that they have left.
Mm-hmm.
They never mention a note.
Interesting.
And the parents are the people who found the person
mm-hmm.
or whose loved one is lost. They don't find a note. And so why, I don't know. Maybe they don't want the person to look at that note forever and,
right.
And be reminded of what happened. It's hard to tell somebody, well, some good's going to come out of this.
Right.
Yeah. God forbid anything happened to Mary and I, our 3 kids, and somebody walk up and go, well, could be a silver lining that I don't think anybody ever, but you never know what people will say.
Right.
So anyway.
So what do you think the most important thing for somebody who's grieving the loss of a loved one, especially someone who ended their own life? What would you say is the most important thing for them to focus on?
I think, 2 tools that I would use are meditation and lighting a candle. I always say lighting a candle is a signal to your loved ones. That's what I believe. I don't have any scientific evidence. It's like candles are like a beacon to the universe. It's almost like Batman signal type thing. Spirit loves candles, and because it's that light, and it reminds them of the light within them. I would say, I think therapy is really good. I think group sessions and circles are really good, because when people try to go it alone, I think that's when it gets difficult. So find a support group, and like From Grief to Hope or something like that, where people are sharing that journey with each other.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. What about people that have lost children due to illness or an accident, or what do you say to them?
It's funny. I don't say so much, because sometimes there's there's people who have lost children, and I look at God and I say, I can't see the whole picture, but I just don't get this. I don't get it. But a lot of times, I'd say most of the time, the children come through and say, it was my time. In other words, they know they've gone to the higher dimensions, and they know, they don't talk about soul contracts, even though we know those things are real. But they just said, it wasn't my time. I was here for a short amount of time, and now I'm going to help guide you. They don't become, maybe some of them become spirit guides. Who am I to say they're not spirit guides or guardian angels? But now I'm going to guide you. I look at the couple. I look at the mom who lost her son at 16 years old with a car crash, and that led to me getting his heart and his kidney. This young man, I read his biography. I almost wept. He was such an outstanding young man. And there was a sense of guilt came over. And, Mary has really touched base with the mom. My hope, one of these days, as soon as we get to go to Tampa and meet him, I've got a stethoscope that my brothers Rich, and I know I've told you this before, Rich and Paul bought me, and I'm not going to use it. And the first person to use it would be Carlos's mom. His name is Carlos. Carlos's mom will use it to hear Carlos's heartbeat. And that would be, but I look at that and I go, I just don't get it. I mean, he worked with special needs children. I mean, you talk about all American, but his life led to the life so many. If I'm able to touch so many people, I keep saying, Carlos, I'm going to carry on your legacy. I'm not a good swimmer like you are. He was a champion, a competitive swimmer. But I'm going to do my best at this second chance I have. And, but the people the children with illnesses, why this has happened to me, the children come through and counsel them and console them. That's the word I'm remembering.
Okay.
Console them. And, it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just hear them or see them, and they just break down. And
Mm-hmm.
Tears are good. Tears are good. Tears releases a lot of toxins in our body, and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Happy tears are better, of course, than sad tears, but and they just come through and console them. It's beautiful. It really is.
So I tell you, we're going to pause here for just a second and pick this back up. And then we're going to talk about tears and processing grief. But I want to remind everybody that Jerry will be doing some readings here on the air as we get into the second part of our show. You can ask for a message from Spirit. You could also ask if if he wants to hear from a particular individual, and these will be short. Just a few lines about what he might be getting from the other side. But you could also ask a question about something that's not related to grief if you feel prompted to do so. And Jerry has blessed us with this, sharing his gifts with us. So we're very grateful that you do this. If you would like to hear a message, please type your request in all caps, so it will be easier for us to read, for us to pick out the requests here, because we've been getting a lot of wonderful comments tonight. So if you'd like to know more about Jerry, you can go to his website, easy enough to remember, jmacmedium.com. He also has a monthly newsletter. I'll put the email for that at jmacmedium@gmail. You can send him an email and he'll put you on the list. So, but you can, as we're here on the show, you can read a little bit more about Jerry and his work and his books. You happen to have one of your books laying around, Jerry?
Is the Pope Catholic? That's a bad segue. We just talked about the Pope. I'm not too sure these days, but anyway. Yes.
Okay. Ooh, that looks wonderful.
Yeah, and I love this book because I really turned over more control to Spirit to write it. And last week or 2 weeks ago, I read it from cover to cover because I haven't in a while. It's like seeing yourself on camera. I don't like to see myself on camera. I like to see other people on camera, but not myself. And so I don't like to look at things that I've written. I kind of like okay, let's go on to the next. But this just got 2 5-star reviews from readers' favorite.
Oh, good.
I don't have the sticker on there, and I'll be selling this at Spirit Fest on April 11th.
Yes.
For $10. Yeah.
You can find out more details about that by going to our website, sanctuaryfl.com, and you will be offering a special mediumship gallery on the 11th.
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely. And looking forward to it. My first, quote, public appearance, unless you count CVS and Starbucks as public appearances. And I went into Lowe's today. So that was another public appearance.
Okay.
And I'm so excited about this gallery reading. It's the energy, and that's why I love doing this show. It's the energy of the people on here now that you can just feel it. I know you're looking at the comment, but I can just feel the energy, and there's some people on here that's gone through some tough times. And and so hopefully we can give them some hope. So
yes. So we were talking about processing grief and remembering the good times, not feeling guilty. But not only not feeling guilty about if the last time that we spoke to the person, maybe we weren't as kind as we could have been, or maybe we had a disagreement, or we feel bad that we weren't there. But I know a lot of people in this past year have passed away and we were not able to have services, or they died by themselves, which has been very hard, very sad. Or one family member was allowed to be in there with them and had their cell phone, held up in a baggie, because they were all in their protective suit and everything. And, that really takes a lot to process, and it's good to process it. It's, we don't want to just always be stoic and just think this is what I had to endure, because it will come up eventually. And we really need to talk about it, to process it, to think about it, meditate, like you said, and know that it was okay. We did the best that we could. And
the story that comes to mind, in both times, my wife's parents lived out in Salt Lake City. actually Sandy, Utah, subdivision of Salt Lake City. And her father was really sick and he was going downhill. And she got on the plane. Everybody else marries the youngest of 5. And she got on a plane and didn't make it in time. And he had already passed. And the second time, her mom was passing, same situation. All the siblings got there except for Mary. She was, from here to Salt Lake's a long flight. And she flew out there and didn't get there in time. But there's a certain amount of peace that can come over you, knowing. And a lot of times people hang on until they perceive someone giving them permission to let go. And not being there physically is I'm not going to say it's okay, but it can, in some instances, it can be a blessing. There's been some people who have passed away. They didn't want anybody to see them in that state. They don't want to see anybody.
I remember, remember John Edward, he used to do, gallery readings on the show. Yeah. He said that he would hear almost all the time that the people did prefer to be alone when they passed. And he said it was almost like using the bathroom, that they just simply would rather be alone and do it, on their own, in their own way, I guess. There's a very sweet YouTube video that will just give you goosebumps of a man who's clearly dying. He's got the death rattle, as the body's shutting down. And his wife had been sitting with him for several days. And when that started, she knew the time was near. And her son, who's an adult, told her to go to bed. She had not slept, and that he would sit with them through the worst part of the time. But they had a camera in the room, and it was probably similar to a baby cam, so that they could see him in other rooms of the house. And they caught his spirit leaving his body. You hear the breathing stop and you see the spirit just go right up. I'm sure if you Google it, we can find it. It would be fun to put on our website, I think. It was really...
Yeah, that is tremendous. And
just the energy of that.
Yeah, and not being able to get there is one thing. Young people or people of all ages not being able to marry, not being able to have a marriage. Young people not being able to say goodbye to their, they're graduating high school, people they've been with for 4 years or longer. And so there's a loss there, and the loss can't be replaced other than, I really believe those people who we can't get to the funerals and can't say goodbye, their spirits has left them, and they will in some way contact that person. And there's guilt in that too. I tried to make it and I couldn't, or I tried to get there and the people that are passing understand that. It was like, I did a reading for somebody, and the woman passed away, and she said one of her last things was, whatever you do, don't pull the plug, okay? Because I've done readings for people who've pulled the plug, and that's a tremendous amount of pressure on them. And thank God those people, those loved ones come through and say, it was time. You did the right thing. You helped release and let my spirit go. It needed to go. But at the very end, this woman said, do what you need to do. And the son felt guilty about I'd say pulling the plug. It sounds so, turning off the machine. Maybe that's more an easier way of saying it. And the thing is, she came through and said, I said, don't turn off the machine. Once it started going down, that's all I prayed for, was that machine to be turned off. It was time for me to go. There were, and I've told a lot of people, a lot of times there are angels on either side, but they won't intervene. They will, once the time is right, the time is right. And, so.
Now, I know that I've told this story before, and we'll get to a reading after this and come back to, I want to talk about the energy, of our spirit and us as energy beings. But I've told this on our show about that when you were in your coma, came to me. And it was about 2 a.m. And if I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night, it's usually around 4:30 or so.
Yeah.
So for me to wake up at 2 a.m. was not. And you were newly in the coma. You were not well.
Yeah.
And I heard you, and which woke me up. I don't know what you said, and I said Jerry, and you were like, yeah. And I got up. So I wanted to stand up because I knew that it would kick in my rational thoughts, that
Yeah.
I knew that this wasn't a dream or whatever. And I said, did you cross over? And you said no. And it was the way that you said it. And you then went on to explain to me that you had figured out that you could do this, that you could communicate with us, that you could go around, that you could be in other people's presence. But the way that you said no, and no, and I'm here,
I'm surprised I didn't wake you up and say, hey, remember to buy my book.
Right.
Just kidding. But yeah, it's funny. And I don't remember that, but you're metaphysically as strong as anybody I've ever met, Mary Ellen. And
I knew afterwards that if for some reason you did not come out of the coma, that it was not your decision, that you had made the decision that you were going to, do, because I'm sure things were really tough for you for a while. But my point was, and I've heard from other people that have crossed over who have told me just how fantastic it is on the other side, and being able to have those gifts and to be able to do the things, that we can see our limitations here in the human body, but also that we can, speak with others was really quite exciting. So that's something that I wanted to get across to people that have lost loved ones, especially ones that they weren't able to really be with at the end, or children, or, those that, that they may have died by their own hand, that when they're on the other side, they are just as much in communication with us now as they were then, but just in a different way. And that's where consciousness comes in, and being open to spirit. And we could do a whole show about that, about spirit communication.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm writing that down, because if we don't get to it tonight, I want to get to that. So let's do a question. Let's see. We've got some really good comments in here too.
Good. Good.
Yeah, Sharon says, how long does it take for a loved one to let you know how they're doing? She recently lost a friend last Monday. So is that yesterday or a week ago? She doesn't know if that's too soon to hear from him, either right now or just in general.
Sharon, it's a great question, because I've been told it's too soon. However, I know people who crossed over and they immediately communicated with people. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the energy. It depends on the light. I think if you do some meditation, one of my favorite sayings that Spirit gave me is, when we hear nothing is when we hear everything. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think light a candle and see if you can communicate. It's a wonderful thing. We all have different sixth sense gifts. We don't all have the same gifts. I don't have the gifts that Mary Ellen doesn't have. Oh, excuse me, that Mary Ellen has. Sorry about that. That Mary Ellen has, but I wouldn't say it's too soon. I can't. There are some people who are rigid, so no, it's too soon. It's this. I don't think so, because I know people who have had their loved ones crossed over, and that night or the next night, they felt an impression on the bed while they were sleeping, or they saw an apparition, or they saw somebody in their dreams. It's never happened to me. Soon after my father died, I had a visitation from him in a dream that I had, and it was so lifelike. I could feel his beard touch my face. It was so, wow. And he walked back. We sat down the curb of our old house, and then at the end of the street was fog, just like a mist. And we talked, and I can't remember because it's been so long, mm-hmm. But he walked back into the fog, and that was like a week or two after he passed. Mm-hmm. Did we find out this was yesterday? I think a week ago. Yeah, or I think she would have said yesterday. And ask your spirit guide, Sharon. I don't know who your spirit guide is. All right, the first thing I'm getting about spirit guide is a Native American. So I don't know if she has any Native American blood, but this is a Native American. Native Americans are all of our spirit guides are fantastic, but and he's going to help you navigate. His name, and names aren't big with me, and a lot of times I'm not big in the spirit world. from people we don't know. His name is Ace Acre. There's an A, and you can call him Acre. I know, like an acre of land. I know it seems like a difficult name, but and he will help you navigate. Now, remember, we're not praying to Acre. We're having a conversation with Acre, and I've always said praying is talking to God. Meditation is listening. But you can ascended masters, saints, archangels, spirit guides, loved ones. And I think he will. This seems to be extremely tragic and like a short amount of time. At least that's how she's making me feel. It was a short amount of time. Like she could have been sick for 2 years, and all of a sudden it was there. And she wants to know that a mother figure, maybe not her mother, because I am seeing her. It's beautiful, beautiful. A mother figure was there to greet her. Don't know if it was the person's mother. I do have a feminine vibration with this person. If this person was a male, his feminine, we all have a masculine and a feminine side to our spirituality, and a feminine part is really coming out if it was a male. But I feel a strong female presence with your best friend. I'm sorry about your loss, and I'm gonna go ahead and say she. If it was he, there's such a strong female presence. I'm gonna say she is doing well and found her peace. This person.
We said him here at the end of the. I think it was a him, but if there was a female in spirit on the other side there.
Yeah. But this person is doing really, really well. Found the peace that this person had been looking for a while, or maybe over the last year or two, was looking for some peace. And I hope that gives you some comfort. It will happen. It may not happen in a dream. It will happen. Your best friend, because you were like, if it was a he, you were like brother and sister. And it was kind of the light within you that spirit recognizes. I tell you, I'm still getting a strong female vibe. It just means his feminine spirituality. It's like I'm Catholic, run by men, and yet anytime we talk about the church, we go she. I'm like, So anyway, Sharon, I certainly hope. Thank you for listening, and thank you for asking that question. So thank you.
So with regard to our spirits, as we teach metaphysically, spirits are energy, and that is what we are. We are energy. We are, and I could even call it radiance. The energy of God. We are that. Sharon said that was his mother. By the way,
that was her mother.
Yeah, that was his mother.
His mother.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So really, we're not human beings with a spirit. We're spirits being human.
Yeah.
We can, and again, we get very bogged down in the details and of our lives and the daily grind and the things, our problems and everything that we have. But it's very important to remember that we are spirit, and that we are all spirit in these human bodies. And there's so much more than we can see. And, that they can be in touch with us in different ways that we're used to, that we do stay connected to the people, that they're really not gone. The time is much different there on the other side. And to them, it's a blink between the time that they cross over and we cross over. But similarly, they can see things from such a different perspective. And one of the messages that I got from one of my best friends was he just wished I could see, what he could see. He said it just was amazing there on the other side. And he can see now how much he limited himself in this lifetime. He, had a lot of anxiety issues and things. And now that he could see that, that he was free from it, he could really understand that in such a way. So there is a much greater understanding there. In tune with time, though, my understanding is when people cross over, sometimes they do need sort of like a decompression period where they assimilate everything that they may have been through in their life, that it may have been processing their death, especially if it was traumatic or unexpected. And that may be one of the reasons that they don't come around, is because there needs to be that adjustment period.
No, it could be. I know a friend of my daughter's, very well known in the Orlando area. Won't mention her name. Completely disappeared. And she came through one of the mediumships girls. She didn't come through to me. She came through somebody else who said, I now help people who cross over, young people who cross over, because this is, it's kind of a shock to the system. I mean, and you're right. Some people call spirit the breath of God. I call it the breath of energy, and God is all energy. It's not a man's. It's not sitting on Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus. Some people think God looks like, every picture I've seen of God as a man, it looks like Moses. I'm sure God's not happy about it. No, I'm just kidding. And the people who said, I am at peace, people who have had such restrictive, they're doing windmills, they're riding bicycles, they're letting hair flow through. And it's just, with some, it takes a little bit longer. There were some who maybe go into the lower consciousness and they got to ascend to get more light. And, they're, almost, so what I like about spiritualism, it talks about the continuity of life, and that life continues. And in almost every religion, they talk about life continuing, but some religions you can continue a good path, and there's down below the not so good path. But there's some exceptions, but most religions do teach that people just don't die. Their soul, the big question is, where does consciousness go? And that's what scientists just beat they ram their heads against a brick wall. Consciousness isn't something you can just grab, like a piece of metal or something.
I want to touch on that. Chelsea asked a question, and I want to get to that. But first, I want to get to a reading. And before that, Maura Madsen suggested Compassionate Friends.
That's great. Thank you, Maura.
She said they have Facebook group and local chapters nationally. So if you have lost anyone due to suicide, please look up the Compassionate Friends on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, shoot me an email, or and you can send that to Mary Ellen at sanctuaryfl.com. And I'd be happy to connect you with them as well.
Thank you, Maura. She's such a sweetheart.
Yes, she is.
She is such a sweetheart.
Let's go to another message here. Teresa lost her mom, her best friend, her big sister, and her husband all to COVID in the last 60 days. Goodness, we're so sorry.
God.
So I think she's probably wondering if any of those people might come through. That's a lot. Yeah. This is just such a hard time.
It's funny. The first person it's not as funny. It's of all the first person is, this would be, I think, Teresa, and I'm so sorry for your losses. I'm just so sorry. But the first person I see is, this would be your brother-in-law, I think, the big sister's husband. And I saw him in a hospital bed, and he just tore off all the stuff. And he had the hospital gown on, and he said, "Don't peek. I'm going to turn around because the back has, trust me, I know the backs. When you're in a hospital, like he appears to be, your pride goes out the window. But he is just. He is all joy, all energy. As Mary Ellen talked about, he's doing his hands like this, like there's no tubes, there's no thing on the nose, there's none of this. He just saw me. Oh, there's another hospital bed, and this is your big sister. And they're holding hands in the hospital. Then he gets back in the bed and holds hands with her, but he's got clothes on now, and she's got clothes, and one of them is wearing mismatched clothes. I don't know if that was extremely mismatched. I'm going to guess it was the guy because we're not too good with fashion, but I'm just guessing. That's Jerry. That's not Spirit. But I keep seeing the colors change. They did say, watch your heart. So I don't know, watch. They're pointing to the chest, but they said heart. Be sure and watch your heart. And so they seem to indicate that if you've got a checkup place recently, that's good for you, Teresa. Your mom just walked in. See, they're showing me a hospital room, Teresa. They're showing me a hospital room. And your mom just walked in. She looked like, you remember the old Betty Crocker? She looks like Betty Crocker. You know, the woman that was real, you know, and the Betty Crocker, I don't know if Betty Crocker's still around. I mean, not Betty Crocker, but it's the company's still around. I assume they are. And she walked in and said, it's time to go. And so proud of you, Teresa, as your mom. She is honored. She is like, that you called me, lost mom, her BFF. Her BFF. Who's her BFF?
Her mom.
Is that her?
Yeah.
Okay, Teresa's, her mom. Oh, her. Okay, I got you, Teresa. Because as I say, she was so honored that you said that.
Or was it? I lost my mom, her best friend, her big sister. They were all in different hospitals. And Teresa said her mom did bake.
There you go. Some don't. I mean, yeah, some men don't either. She said, Teresa, you never did disappoint her. And if you've asked why me, I lost all these people, which is unbelievable in 2 months. Why am I left behind? Because you have a lot of good work. You're a healer, what your mom is saying. And we're sorry we all left like this, but we want you to take care. And I don't know if I don't know if there's kids or grandkids around or anything. So be sure and take care of the little ones. They may not be so little now. But, and your big sister said, she looked up to you, Teresa. She looked up to you. And so her husband said, you know, you were a kind sister-in-law. Not everybody's kind to him, but you were a kind sister-in-law, and he appreciated that. And he said in the beginning it was difficult welcoming him into the family, but he said you did when maybe a lot of other people wouldn't have, and he appreciated that. So they're all there. They're doing really good. They're sending a lot of light down here on this planet to help heal this planet. A lot of people doing that. A lot of ascended beings are really doing that these days to make sure the planet is healthy and maybe we can get rid of this COVID-19. But I'm really sorry for your losses, but you've got a lot of love surrounding you. And a sign, and I don't know where you live. In Florida, we don't have many fireflies. Do we have fireflies here? I've never seen
any.
I used to see them in Memphis all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the signs is a firefly. And, you know, that's a tough sign. What can I say? That's a tough sign. Now watch, you'll probably see it's like 2 weeks ago, somebody said their sign was a black bird. And I went, you know how many black birds are? Mm-hmm. And I told this woman, because she was going to a memorial for this guy. He had taken his own life. He chose that path. He said, my sign be a black bird. She goes to the memorial. She said, look, Jerry, there's this huge black bird just perched on the fence right outside the memorial. And I went, oh my gosh, Spirit knows what they're doing. So some type of firefly or something like that, Teresa. Again, I wish you the best. Of course, I say prayers for all the people that I do readings and messages for. Mm-hmm. And the candle is lit for the people tonight who are on here. So thank you very much and again, Marianne and I are so sorry for your losses. You'll get through it.
Chelsea asked an interesting question. She lost her grandparents some years ago, and her grandmother would visit her all the time in dreams, but she's never dreamt about her grandfather. Could he have reincarnated quickly? So I'm going to let you answer about the dreams, but I want to weigh in about reincarnation.
Yeah, weigh in on the reincarnation, because the only thing I would say is possibly, but I don't know how that works. You do. You know, Chelsea McNuckles. I love that name. I love that name. You should be a singer, Chelsea McNuckles. And if anybody disagreed with you, you don't like my singing? Where do you think I got my last name? The dreams is a curious thing, Chelsea. I lost my mom and dad several years ago. I lost my brother 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, 2019. And my father's come to me in a dream really once. And other than memories of things we did kind of as a family, I've never had visitations from virtually anybody. And I'm a lot older than you, Chelsea. And I've lost probably about over a dozen aunts, uncles, grandparents, parents, brother, all in their 60s. And it takes a lot of energy to come into somebody's dream and not that's not how they always touch base with us. They could be sending signs other than the dream. And so it doesn't mean that your grandfather's ignoring you. And I'm going to let Mary Ellen talk about the reincarnation because that's not my area of expertise, but it is Mary Ellen's. But in a lot of times too, they're doing other things. They're learning more lessons, gaining more light. Mary Ellen, I'll hand it over to you to talk about the reincarnation part.
My understanding about reincarnation is that when we exist in the grid. We have our hologram, our spiritual, hologram that is our body, which is what goes to heaven, is what, that spirit, blip that we saw leave. That's our hologram and everything. It's like a template that goes over our physical body. And it never ceases to exist. Our personality, Chelsea, you, Jerry, you, and Mary Ellen will never cease to exist in the grid that is the planet, which is our human experience. It will always exist. So you can communicate with people that have crossed over always because they don't cease to exist. So many people channel Jesus or get messages from Jesus, and who they are communicating with isn't Jesus now. It's Jesus as he existed in the grid at the time. Yeah. So similarly, that's who you're communicating with. And so it's kind of a touchy thing. So they can tell you what they're doing now, but it's when they're talking about your life together and things like that, it's always going to be accessible. So if your grandfather is reincarnated, it would be a different part of his soul anyway. Really only about half of our soul max is incarnated in a body. Almost always half of our soul is on the other side or even incarnated in different aspects. A whole nother show. So I don't think if you're not seeing him in your dreams, it doesn't mean that he's reincarnated. It may mean that he's communicating with you in different ways. It might mean that your grandmother's the talker and she's the one that's doing, or she's the one that you're remembering, because when they communicate with us, often they appear to us in ways that are going to mean the most to us. And it doesn't necessarily mean, that's why we might see them young or we might not see them as they were exactly when they crossed over. But my suggestion would be just to ask your grandfather to visit you in the dream and then say out loud that you want to remember the dream. That's always a trick too. Yeah. But typically the visitation dreams are so clear and vivid, it's like Technicolor, and you do remember. So even if he's reincarnated, I do think you would hear from him, but he may be communicating with you in other ways. So I think just be open, about that. So yeah. Do you have a message for Chelsea or anything?
No, and I think, sorry. That was my alarm going off.
Time for you to take your medicine.
My medication, which I'm going to be late, but that's okay. I eat light and I'm supposed to take it. But yeah, and the thing is, I can't add. That's beautifully what you said, Mary Ellen. It really is. And they don't always come to. I think when we hear, it's like when my dad visited me in my dream 23 years ago. It was 1997. 97, is that 23, 24? Coming up on 24. In fact, he passed away 24 years ago yesterday, the Ides of March. What is tomorrow, Mary Ellen?
St. Patrick's Day.
And
Is it the Ides of March?
no, it's my birthday tomorrow.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay. Or
So everybody go out and buy my book.
Jerry's birthday. Well, that's apropos that you were born on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. But Chelsea, the thing when my dad visited me, I said, why hasn't my mom visited me? Why is my grandparents, my aunts and uncles? Now they came through other mediums, but they didn't visit me that I know of. See, that's the thing. Why isn't my brother? He's been gone. May 12th will be 2 years. Why hasn't he visited me? It's okay. I got a message that a hawk was his sign. Do I see hawks all the time? Well, I notice them. They could have been there all the time. But my wife told me a hawk stood out the windowsill almost every day while I was in a coma. Wow. So a hawk would purchase itself. And so I think pay attention to the things around you, to the signs. And you're absolutely right. A lot of times there's one person who speaks. Not everybody speaks. They said, because I got to tell you, Mary Ellen can tell you, when they all speak, it's confusing. They're overlapping, and I can't. It's just difficult, and that's why we have like I have a priest as a gatekeeper, and I don't talk to him a lot. I should, as Monsignor Morris, and great man, helped me convert to Catholicism from Methodism, and but a lot of times it's okay. We're all going through the same thing you're going through, Chelsea. We don't hear from them. We just hear from them in different ways. So anyway, certainly hope that helped. I love that name, Chelsea McNuckles. Is she English? That sounds like English.
Which one?
Graham would know.
McNuckles?
No, Chelsea, the way she spelled Chelsea. Is that English? Is that an English? I love how it's spelled. Anyway, so.
Okay, well, we're just about ready to wrap up, but we'll still talk a little bit. Let's do one last message here.
Okay.
Jerry's wondering if he had a message from his Nana.
Nana, hey, Graham.
Yeah.
He's our token Englishman. I was joking, Graham. It's funny, there's something around her neck, almost looks like shark teeth. There's some kind of funny, I say unique bracelet. And by the way, folks, this is a very talented medium from England. So reach out to him. He's very, very talented. He's very good. Graham Williamson. And she said, keep your eyes focused on the road, on the path ahead. And I'm like, okay, is this double entendre, right? Is that? I probably misused that. In other words, something that has two messages. Is that driving or that focus on the road? I think she did say, because I know you live up in kind of north of here in kind of God's country. It's beautiful up there. They actually have hills up where you live. You and Sandy. Tell Sandy we said hi. But I think she's asking you to be careful when you're coming to Orlando. I think you're coming to Orlando. And also there's a path ahead for you. And she's saying, reach out and grab it. Reach out and grab it. Don't wait for it to come to you, but reach out and go get it. Oh, God. She said, don't be so English. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Don't be so English. We love his accent. Don't scare him away. I do see a lot about the book, and I see another course you're going to take. I know you took Morris Pratt, but there's another course, and are you going to study under someone? And now the Spirit's kind of taken over. I don't know if Nana's too happy about it, but she did say thank you for being a good and obedient boy. Curry? Did she make curry? She's talking about curry. And is that an English dish? I've had it before. It's really good. Curry is outstanding. But I love Nana. Oh, I love that.
Curry is very popular in England because
is it? Okay.
India is part of the British Empire.
So. Oh, that's right. That's Indian. Yeah, I love it. kind of spicy, but for me, because I'm a wimp. But yeah, I love curry. Yeah, your Nana just says she loves you, Mary. She's very proud of you, Graham. Very, very proud of you. You're like the glue. I don't know if Graham has sisters and brothers, but you're kind of like the glue that holds things together. And even people who don't believe in the family, who don't believe in what you do, she used some pretty colorful language. I won't tell you what the first word was, but the last word was M, like blank M.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you can figure that out. It's got 4 words, or excuse me, 4 words, 4 letters. You can figure that out. But she's a Renaissance woman too. She's awfully proud that you reached out to get a message from her. She's awfully proud. She's doing great, and she's got a lot of light. And it was almost like when she passed, it was seamless. So I know I'm running over, and I apologize, but I just love the work of Spirit. I really love the work of Spirit, and I know Graham does too. So that's what I've got for Graham.
Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you, Nana, too.
Thank you, Nana. Thank you, Spirit.
So as we said, you will be at Spirit Fest Orlando April 11th. So it's April 10th and 11th is when the show is. It's a Saturday and Sunday. And if you go to our website, sanctuaryfl.com, which the banner's here on the screen, you'll be able to find more information about Spirit Fest Orlando. Details, place, all that good stuff. So the Mediumship Gallery is Sunday morning, and pre-advanced reservations are strongly suggested because I do think that it will sell out. We've got room for 30 or 35 seats. I can't remember which. So
30.
30. Okay. So, and you mentioned our wonderful reader, Graham, and he will also be there giving readings. Jerry will be there signing his book. Yes. Yeah.
Great.
Graham will be there Saturday and Sunday, and Jerry will be signing his books for everyone, whether or not you attended the workshop, or the Mediumship Gallery. So we really look forward to that. And I really am heartened that the COVID numbers seem to be dropping, and I really feel like it's a month away, that things are just going to continue to get better. Nevertheless, we do have a lot of extra space for social distancing, and we're going to make sure it's a safe space. So we hope that you will join us at Spirit Fest Orlando. You can, as always, check out Jerry at his website. Find out more about him if you would like to get a full reading, and his prices are extremely reasonable. I know other people of Jerry's caliber that are charging triple. So we really appreciate, what you do. And he does book up in advance because he does have limited number every week. So if you are interested in a reading, I suggest getting on the schedule so you won't have to wait very long. So
thank you.
Yeah, but thank you, Jerry, for this show. I always enjoy it. So 2 weeks, you want to do 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, 2 weeks from now sounds good.
And that will be the.
And I have to apologize. The only reason this wasn't tomorrow is because it's my birthday, and I think we're going out to dinner.
Yeah.
So that's why we did it on Tuesday. We can do Tuesday or Wednesday. It doesn't make any difference to me.
What do you think is better? I mean, and our listeners can weigh in too. If Tuesday night or Wednesday night is better.
I'll leave it up to them. It's fine with me.
Let's tentatively schedule it for Wednesdays. That's what we had been doing, and it seemed like it was a good night from people.
Yeah, and it was middle of the week, which is good. Gives people kind of gets them over the hump.
Yeah, Wednesday would be March 31st. That'd be 2 weeks, and I can already tell you right now, our topic is going to be spirit communication, different way that spirit communicates with us, those that have crossed over. So I think that'll be a really exciting show because Jerry can tell us about some of his experiences. So. Sounds great. Teresa, what is Jerry's last name? I missed it. McDaniel.
McDaniel, that's right. That's right. I should have mentioned my name.
Yeah, Jerry McDaniel. Yes. And Teresa, if you'll go to his website, it's up on the screen, jmacmedium.com. You'll find him. And KJ, we're sorry that you joined us till late too. I hope you can catch us 2 weeks from now. So anyway, thank you everybody for listening, and thank you for those that are going to be watching this after it was recorded. And I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. God bless. Peace.